Hey everybody, welcome to my video presentation. I am Sri Charan Krishnan. I am a web developer working in Chennai, India, and today I'm here to talk to you about my small little project that I built with Jekyll, the static site generator. I'm sure there are a lot of Jekyll boilerplates that are coming up, and Jekyll has also been with the web developer community for quite a while right now. The name of this Jekyll boilerplate is called the Jekyll Arabica boilerplate. It's an amalgamation of Jekyll and grunt.js. Why did I build this project? I built this project because I wanted to have a standardized way of building front-end websites with Jekyll. I also wanted to resolve the requirements of minimizing all your CSS files and minimizing all your JavaScript files. I'm not really 100% sure if there are already existing methods available with Jekyll that minimizes CSS and JavaScript files, so I came up with this particular project. So I'm excited to show this to you, and let's get started with this. So before we actually get started with the project and the boilerplate, and I'll show you how to get things done with it, I'm just here to make sure that you have all your requirements in place. So the first thing that you'll need, of course, is Jekyll and the Ruby gems. Let me just check this. I'm using Jekyll 4.2.1. and the gem version that I'm using is 3.1.2. I'm also going to check for the version of Node.js that I have and the NPM version that I have. So these are the 4 things that you'll definitely need for this project. And of course, by the way, this isn't beginner friendly. It's not meant for people who don't know anything about Jekyll. If you need tutorials on Jekyll, I would highly recommend that you search them on YouTube, or you go to the Jekyll documentation and read more about it. It even gives you the necessary documentation and explanation on how you should install Jekyll into your system. All right, so this is what you'll need, and yeah, let's just get to the project right now. So I'm assuming at this stage you've got all your prerequisites ready and they're all set in their places, and you're also set and ready to go to get started with this boilerplate. I'd like you to head over to this URL so that you can reach the GitHub project repository. I'll have a copy of the URL placed in the description section below for you to get started. What I'd like you to do is I'd like you to just clone a copy of this project into your local system and say git clone, and let's just call this demo project. I'll head into the project, and the first thing that I like to do is to run a command that says sh app cleanup sh. This will prepare the boilerplate for you with all the necessary dependencies. Alright, and this is now ready to use. Execute the command npm run start. I'm heading over to the browser again, and localhost 4000. If you see the screen, congratulations, you've successfully installed the boilerplate and you're ready to use this right now. The entire boilerplate has been planned out and it's been structured for all of you all to get started with building your front-end websites with the Jekyll Arabica boilerplate. When you have a look at the boilerplate initially, you will see certain portions or certain parts of the boilerplate which should strike you that it's come from Jekyll. So for example, you can see the _config.yaml file. You have the _includes directory, the _layouts, you've got the _sars, you've got the _sites directory. You can definitely add posts. For those of you who want to create posts, this is still very much open to creating posts for those of you who want to create blogs, but this is the initial layout that I felt was more than sufficient for me to get started on building a front-end website with Jekyll. If you would also notice, there are other portions of this particular boilerplate that are very, very new. They don't necessarily belong with the traditional Jekyll project layout. For example, you can see an all apps LST, you can see an assets directory, you can see a grunt all.py and then a grunt file.js file. You have a node underscore modules and packet.json and package-lock.json, and you also have a views directory. So this is, like I said, a combination of Jekyll and grunt.js, and yes, it also has a small philosophy of me working with certain node.js projects as well. So I'll take you through these one by one to help you understand what all of this means, right? So the first thing that we'll do is we'll go to underscore layouts default.html. So you know this, the layouts directory basically will contain a HTML file that would act as a default template for all your website, for all your web pages. What I've done is I've basically split this up into various portions, and let's start with app meta. Now app meta is a good place to keep everything that's related to your SEO. For example, you've got your title tags, your meta tags. Also a good place to keep things like the Google Analytics code snippet, or you've got a Facebook events tracking code snippet. This is the perfect place for that, and that's why I've created this view. So you can, for example, just go to includes app meta index.html, and if you go through this space, you would know what I'm talking about, right? The next one is initial render.scss. What is this? So I wanted to have a certain portion of CSS styles kept readily available at the head of every portion of a web page to give it the initial critical CSS that I needed to help load a web page. I found this to be a very, very useful feature. This wasn't something that I built by myself, so I'll credit the author from whom I actually borrowed this idea from. Critical Andrea Verlici, I hope I'm spelling that, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. This was the blog that I saw, and I picked up this piece of this piece of idea from, and after that it really worked wonders for me, and I haven't looked back at all, and it's there in most of the Jekyll projects that I've built, right? The next one, so let's just start with the body class over here. Again, if you know, page basically refers to the page variable that you get from a particular page. For example, if you have a homes directory index.html file, and you got a front matter that basically has two values, body class and body ID. Those page.body class and those page.body ID values will be plugged into the body tag over here. So that should be very simple for you to understand. App loader index.html is a very, very simple piece of HTML file that contains an animated loader before a web page loads. You can definitely go ahead and make the necessary changes that you like. In fact, the best place to do that would be at the initial render.scss file. This is the class that says app loader, and this is the class that basically controls the styling of that particular loader. So you can go ahead and change it if you like to, as per whatever your project requirement is. And opening this up, so this section over here which says app root is the main section of your web page. So it's got three parts to it. The first one is the app nav, which is of course the top navigation bar. The content refers to the main content from the referring HTML document that has this layouts file as its particular layouts option, and the app hyphen footer basically denotes the section that's in the bottom of a web page. So these are all common inclusions from various portions of the Jekyll project. You can easily go ahead and explore all of these options, and I'm sure you'll be able to find your way through. The next one that we have is app web fonts. This was another one that I picked up from the internet. App web fonts index.html. Go to this particular page, which is basically the web font loader that's on GitHub. So I prefer loading my Google fonts after the page is loaded to help ensure that you get a relatively decent page load speed. So this is just an example setup. You can refer to this documentation over here from this project and you'll be able to find your way through. And I've given you the initial boilerplate code that you need for you to set up your Google Fonts. You can go to Google Fonts also, choose what Google Fonts you like, and you could just place them over here. And just to show you, just stepping ahead a little bit and showing you where all of this is, you go to SAS, you go to common imports, and you go to variables.scss. You can see they've got two variables here that says heading font and body font. So the heading font is Sans Serif Pro and the body font is Open Sans. So when you do pick up your new Google Fonts, you will have to make the necessary changes over here. So that's just a couple of steps away. Let me just close this for now. All right. This is a little advanced. What I'll do is I'll just take this, place this over here. Let's just forget about this for now. So normally, under most normal circumstances, I think many Jekyll projects have many JavaScript files that are there, and this is how it's normally placed in Jekyll projects, I'm assuming. I'll show you how to work with the grunt.js file a little later, but these are the JavaScript files that I assume would be there for each and every page that you build, right? So this is the layout. This is the layout of the default.html file. All right. I hope you've got that cleared out for yourself, and I'll show you how to start building a sample web page with this particular boilerplate code. We'll now explore the other portions of this boilerplate code before we actually get started with building a sample web page, so to speak, with this one. Let's just visit the config.yaml file. So the config.yaml file is basically the configuration file for the entire Jekyll boilerplate. I'm sure you're aware of this. This section here again is from Jekyll, which basically controls the default set of front matter details for every page that you create with this boilerplate code. This should be very clear to you, and I just wanted to be explicit in just explaining this to you. This is the same file that you will place your collections. Your Jekyll collections also come in over here. That's the exact same file. Just wanted to show you that you have all the default front matter over here, just lying over here in this file. The next thing that I think you should know about is the underscore SAS directory. Sorry for that. The common.scss file in the underscore SAS directory is supposed to be a common style sheet file for all your web pages. So normally whenever you build a new web page, you will import the common.scss file into that particular web page. Common imports refers to things like a common styles for the footer section, for the nav section. You've also got the variables.scss file that contains certain preset default values for certain SAS variables that you could import as well. This will become clear to you again when I start building and demonstrating a new page for you. What you can do though from this place is that if you do have maybe common SAS files that you like to import throughout your entire web pages, or maybe you've got SAS files that you want to keep as common for just certain pages and you want to import it into those, you can use this directory as well. The next thing that I'd like to take you to is the assets directory. Sorry for that. So the assets directory is the place where you keep all your front-end static assets. These are icons, images, videos, sounds, CSS files, JavaScript files. All of that goes into the assets directory, if you will. All right, now that you have some idea about how this boilerplate works, we can now get started with building a sample web page, and I'll show you all the way from start to finish so that you don't get lost while you're starting off on your own. So let's start with something very, very simple from which you can just understand how all of this works when we have to build a new web page. All right, so I'll just split my screen into different sections. This is the JS file, this is for HTML, and this is for the style sheet. I wouldn't need this, I guess. Okay, let me just head to the views directory. So the views directory is a directory where you create your HTML document that will represent your web pages. All right, so let's say you have to create an about page. All right, the first thing that I would do is I would just say mkdir -v. I would say about, right? Then about. Always save your file with about /index.html file. Then, like every other Jekyll project, you'll create a front end, you'll create a front matter over here. And I'm just gonna say about page. Welcome to the about page. You are learning how to use this boilerplate code. All right, so we've got some sample HTML that's been placed over here. Now we'll need some front matter details that we could borrow from some of the other pages. All right, we've got this, and let me just pick up some of the default all right, so the config.yaml file basically will have all the default set of front matter details for all your web pages, like I told you previously. Let's just go ahead and adjust this a little bit so that you get to see how all of this comes out. I'm just going to call this title as the, let's say, about page, meta description, welcome to the about page. Maybe you have something that says about and hello world, and the permalink is about. Let's give the body class, if you remember the layer of the default HTML file, just going to say about page and about page and all right, So this refers to the class of the body. This refers to the ID that will be there in the body tag as well. And this refers to the directory in the assets directory that controls the JavaScript for this page. All right. This is how you structure your HTML file. Let's go to the JavaScript file. Let's just go to assets.js and we'll create an about, what did we call this over here? About page. So you just say about page, you say vim about page index.js. That's exactly how you'll have to keep it. You need to keep it as index.js. And the next thing that I do is I'll just copy a little bit of code from here and just change this to about page. I'll change the directory here from home to about page. Okay, nearly there. Yeah, the body ID is about page. Okay, so what does the JavaScript file do over here? So when the page loads and the JavaScript file is also loaded, the first thing it does is that it loads the CSS file applicable for that particular directory. All right. After that, what it does is it goes and checks whether the browser that you're loading the file from supports WebP images, and if it does support, it makes the necessary changes in the body tag of the HTML document, after which it hides the loader and it basically shows the actual page that comes through, right? You could just read through this code and I'm sure you'll be able to get through it, and I'll just show you where you got this from. So if you go to common.js, it has a few set of utility methods, so to speak. This is the load deferred CSS method that helps you to load a particular style sheet for a page, and this is a piece of code that I found on Stack Overflow to be very helpful to check if a browser supports the load of the WebP images or not. So this is how I normally do this. So now you've got your JavaScript file ready, you've got your HTML file ready, and now let's just create a style sheet. And the name that we gave here is the about page mkt. I will just create a directory that says vim about page style.css. So the front-end matter here, that's for initializing your Sass file. So this is where we import the common.scss file, the app, the nav file, and then the footer style sheet files, all from the _Sass directory. Of course, you can create your own style sheets over here. This is just a demonstration to show you what this thing is capable of. And let's just see, what's the body class over here? Okay. Let's just say about page, and I like to keep the h1 in color red for a font size of, let's say, 5 rem. Let's just say color is green and the font size is 2.0 rem. Again, just a small demonstration. Okay, so you've got your HTML file ready, you've got your JavaScript file ready, and now you've got your style sheets ready. Let's just head over to the layouts directory, and I'll show you how all of this comes together. All right. So when you go to the end of this layouts directory, this is an already pre-available jQuery file. This is the bootstrap.min.jQuery file. This is the common.js file, and if you can see here, this will be as per the value that you place in the JS file variable in the front matter of the HTML document, which is here. All right, all of this comes together for you right now. The next thing that I'll do is I'm just starting the server. I'm just confirming that I've got a permalink kept. Yes, the permalink is ready. And the next thing that I'll do right now is just go to localhost 4000. And if you see this, you've got the red color about h1 tag, you've got the green color paragraph tag, you've got the about page title tag that's coming in effect over here. Let me just unshrink this for you. And if you really observe the keywords that we placed here about, and it said hello world, we've got the sample description that says welcome to the about page, and the title tag over here that says about page as well. And if you also see, this is the initial critical CSS, the style sheet that also come in from that initial render.scss file. All right, so this is an approximation of how you can get started. I'll just reload the page for you. This is the loader, and this is how the file loads. So you're able to see that you need to create a directory for the HTML document to be first loaded. You'll need to have your front matter placed in like I showed you, to ensure that you have various portions of the layout files being affected, or which will have the data that's been picked up from the front matter details. You'll then need to create a sample JavaScript file that will be applicable for that particular page, exactly like the way that I've shown you based on the directory names. From there, create a sample CSS file, if you will. And once you've got all of that ready, you can start your server and you can go to this particular URL and you should be able to see your page, right? I hope this clears things out for you. And I'll show you how to use the grunt.js portion for this to help minimize your CSS and your JavaScript files. And I'll also show you what I've done to help minimize the HTML file when the page loads, right? So we're now going to take a look at minifying HTML documents, minifying CSS files, and minifying JavaScript files with this boilerplate. Okay, so the first thing that you can do is you can just head to the layout directory and go to default.html file. You'll notice that the top section of this particular file has a reference to another layout file called compress. That's over here in this front matter, which means there's another compress.html file in the layouts directory. And let's just go to compress.html, and this is it. So this file is responsible for basically capturing your entire HTML document that gets loaded for every page, and it minimizes it right? So let me just show you where I got this from, and it was from this particular website. It was very, very helpful coming across this. I needed something like this for quite a long time, so I borrowed it, and thanks to the author of this particular piece of HTML document for the good work done. If you go to the source code of the file, sorry for that, we just start the server. And now if you go to the source code for the file, you'll see here, after selecting the line wrap or deselecting that everything is minified in just one line, and if you select the line wrap, it basically shows you that this entire HTML document has been minified into just one large heap. All right. So that's as far as minification is done, and this basically happens for every HTML document that refers to the default layout file. All right. What we'll do next is we'll have a look at minifying JavaScript file, and we'll have a look at minifying the CSS file that comes along with it as well. So what is the first things that you should look out for when you're minifying JavaScript files and CSS files with this boilerplate? First, just go to the grunt.js file, and for those of you who know what grunt.js can do for you, just head to the uglify section, for example, and open up the target over here. You will see that all of these are the same files in the layouts default.html document. What this means is that all these files will get minified and compressed together into just one file based on the target directory that you're using when you're running your grunt command. And it will also help minify your CSS files as well. All right. What this does is it basically targets the site directory inside the assets directory and inside the CSS directory, and it minifies that particular CSS file for you. Okay. You can also add more JavaScript files to your template if you like to, and it will just minify everything in one shot, and it will just give them to you. All right. So this is the first thing to remember. This is perhaps the easiest way to do it using this boilerplate. So this is the first thing that you need to know. The second thing that you should note is the name of the directory that you created. So for example, I just changed this from about to about page because it's important that the directory names match as well. So just ensure that your directory names are matching. So I've done this as about page. The next thing that you do is go to this file called allappslst and make sure you register the name of the directory there as well, which is the about page. And let's just go to assets, CSS. You have the about page over here. And you have an about page over here. Let me just remove that unwanted about page. All right, so you will need to also make sure that the names of the directories match as well. Now, let's just head back to, let's go layout default.html. If you see this variable here, changes from development to production. And once it changes to production, you will see that this entire thing will now refer to this particular section. It will now be in the .min.js version instead of giving you all of these files together. All right. I will now run the command npm run build and npm run production. So the run process is working right now. And what we'll do next is we'll just head into the project directory and we'll head into site. We'll head into assets, JS, about page, and you can see an index.min.js over here. I'd like to just start the server to see if this has come out well. Just reloading the page for now. And the page is loaded. Let's just have a look at and there you go. I'm sure you have noticed a bunch of JavaScript files, and now there's just one JavaScript file. I'm opening this JavaScript file, and this is, well, yeah, this is the minified and the uglified version of all the JavaScript files that are brought together. And if you have to inspect the page source over here, I'm just opening up the head tag. Moving into the style sheet over here. The style sheet is also all completely minified as well. You can see there's a dot about page class that comes in over here. All right. So that's how this particular minification process works with this Jekyll boilerplate. So this project was just a demonstration of how the Jekyll Arabica boilerplate works. You've seen the minification process that happens for HTML, CSS and JavaScript files. I'm not an expert in all of this, but I'm really happy that I have an opportunity to share this with you, and you can drop in your comments and you can drop in your feedback in the comment section below. While this may not be the best solution in the world when it comes to handling Jekyll based websites, it nonetheless was a solution that works for me. Hopefully I get to see newer versions of this static site generator that basically helps minify JavaScript files and CSS files as well without using run.js. And if it is there, please share the links below with me and I'll take a look and see how I can improve this boilerplate for all of you all. If you like this project, please head over to my GitHub project and please support it with a star. And I'll be really grateful if you do so. Otherwise, thank you so much for spending your time with me and have a nice day.